Do you like vampires? Then please check out Caline, A Vlada Tale of the Damned, a brand new Kickstarter coming August 15th with art by Tim Vigil, Matt Slay, and variant covers by Chandra Akerblom, Heather Rose, and many more. You can find a link over on the Vlada a Dracula Tale page or one of the variant cover artists. Please consider following the Kickstarter today. It is a sequel to Vlada a Dracula Tale. If you missed Vlada a Dracula Tale, books from Vlada can be picked up on the Kickstarter to help the campaign reach its goal. Again, the Kickstarter launches August 15th. It can be found on Kickstarter at Caline the Vampire or on the Vlada of Dracula page social media, on Twitter, Facebook, or the Radio Horror page or Instagram. Again, please consider helping us get to our goal of $7,000. Thank you. Welcome to Radio Horror tonight here at WCW. If you're just tuning in on the if you're not tuning in on the broadcast or just tuning in on the broadcast, hopefully you'll check it later out on the YouTube channel. Tonight we are talking about In the Mouth of Madness and The Gate, two adaptations coming out one of which is an adaptation of a movie, the other which is a book within a film, In the Mouth of Madness, which was a 1990s John Carpenter movie starring Sam Neill. And the author of both of these books are on the show with us. Thank you for joining me, Christian Francis.
For having me. It's very nice of you to invite me.
I was very fascinated by the fact the Sutter Kane book was finally getting its like release. You didn't work on the film, and neither did I. But I've always been curious, like, why do studios leave money on the table like this when this is something they could have published in the 1990s when the movie was coming out as like a tie-in? They kind of did that recently. In the MCU, like Ant-Man had a book about his life that came out. It was a book in the movie, that he's promoting about his time in jail and then working with the Avengers and the Snap and everything else. I thought that was kind of fascinating, and I wish like more films would do this. Now I know the age of the film adaptation book is long past us, and it's pretty much a collector's market these days. But it's fascinating once in a while to go to a Barnes & Noble and you see like a copy of like Godzilla King of the Monsters adapted, or there was a double book package for Happy Death Day to You. And before there was a Hocus Pocus sequel on Disney Plus, there was a Hocus Pocus adaptation with its own sequel by the original writer. I thought that was fascinating as well.
Companies like Disney are quite big on doing as much merch as possible. So when Marvel went to Disney, suddenly all Marvel films starts getting novelizations. Although you get a film like sort of the Godzilla films, they've all got them, as you said, like the Kong films, they've got them. But most films don't have them, especially nowadays. But that's mainly because the book market, unless you're like Stephen King, the book market's not a huge earner. But back in the day, they were cheap to produce and they were just an extra source of income. But nowadays, ever since physical media died with when VHS, DVD, Blu-ray started dwindling and streaming took off, so did print a lot of the time. So it kind of went out of vogue, and I think studios started like not wanting to do them for any property that wasn't a genuine cash-in. So unless it was a superhero film or a huge budget one, and even something like In the Mouth of Madness, I mean, at the time of release, it was a flop. So they're not going to. They could have spent extra money and time getting a writer to write the actual book and release it as a kind of a Sutter Kane release. They just don't bother, and I found that with like a lot of the novels that I'm licensing to release, most companies like outwardly say we do not license underlying rights. We are not allowing novelizations, and that's probably a good 3/4 of the companies out there. So it's a struggle to try and get any of these made.
Now, with the focusing on one thing at a time, with the Mouth of Madness book, that's a book, like I said, within the context of the movie. So it's not a novelization of the movie. It's an in-universe thing. Like you would purchase, like Sam Neill finds out about this mysterious book tied to a town. He goes to investigate it, and madness kind of follows it wherever it goes and makes people go crazy. Having watched the movie recently in the last couple months when we first connected, I was trying to find where there are pages from the book in the film other than kind of written on the walls and his face and all, the madness writing. There's not a lot in the movie that's excerpts from the book to put together for a 256-page book. How do you pull that together? Is it your own imagination based on watching the film? Or here's another question. Did you contact filmmakers like John Carpenter?
John Carpenter wouldn't necessarily be receptive to questions. He's legendarily grumpy.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to bother him.
Yeah.
But no, for something like this, I mean, to start off with, getting the rights was a minefield, but finally Mike DeLuca, the guy who wrote the original book, the original screenplay, was really up for the idea. And when I got the screenplay is as the film is. Like, it's very like, you know, it is the scenes exactly as you see. Like, people credit John Carpenter for so much of that film when 99.9% of it is what Michael DeLuca wrote in the screenplay, not what John Carpenter brought to it, because John Carpenter brought not that much that was different. A couple of bit tweaks here and there, and he brought the visual element, but it wasn't his story. So the screenplay itself is very descriptive and has a lot in it, and a lot of extra little bits that didn't necessarily make it to the final film. So when I got that, I mean, it's my favourite film of all time. It was that and Nightmare on Elm Street, the pinnacles for me. So when I got this, I was a huge fan. I knew the story inside out to start with. So there was no other way I could possibly do this than write it as the real book. And that basically meant going through the scripts, going through the film and looking at the scenes, but having all the scenes in there, but writing them as if they were specifically a novel with because most novelizations, if you read, you can tell they're from a film. And that's the thing that I had to try and avoid. So I had to find different ways of positing the book as reality. So I have immediately Sutter Kane talking to the reader. And I'll have Sutter Kane talking to the reader at various points. But I'll even have Sutter Kane talking to the characters in the book as they're like experiencing it. Just the same as Sutter Kane does at the end of the book, where he basically announces himself to John Trent as like a god, and he's on the bus and did you know my favourite colour's blue? Like, that whole scene kind of informs how the style of the book needs to be written. And if I wrote this book in any other way, it would have been a disservice to the story and to all the fans out there who love the film for what it is. They don't want to read a novelization where it's all tongue-in-cheek, and they want to read Sutter Kane's book. And that was the thing I was intent on doing. But, you know, for the book itself, I try to make it as realistic as a product as possible as well. So the cover, the insides, they are all as is in the film. Like, the cover is an identical replica of what is in the film, what was made for the film. Everything on the inside, the only place you can see that it's actually not a real Sutter Kane book is because the copyright in it is to Mike DeLuca. None of it is, like, my name is nowhere on it, and I think if it would be on it, it would ruin it. So, but also, I did something extra that I didn't have to do. I wrote an excerpt of one of Sutter Kane's books to put in at the end as a little extra because it always says that this is like his last book, but he's got all these others that are mentioned in the film. So I just did a quick excerpt of The Feeding and put it at the end as a little gift, because in a lot of horror books back in the day, they used to add in a little bit from a future book or a past book just to try and sell it. So I tried to do little things like that to make it more believable, because the whole purpose of this book is basically it's fan service. It's to please the fans. My little gift to share my love of the film with the fans.
Was there anything that you had to get approval of to put in the book, or could you write it how you needed once you got the screenplay?
Well, the good thing is, and it's a very good thing, is Mike DeLuca is the head of Warner Brothers.
Oh,
who
really?
own In the Math of Madness. Yeah.
Wait, who's the head of Warner Brothers? I thought it was that guy canceling films every 5 seconds.
Well, no, basically there's Warner Brothers is the big conglomerate. Okay. Then you've got like Warner Publishing, but Warner Films is co-chaired by two people, Michael DeLuca and I think it's Pam Abdi. And Michael DeLuca, he wrote In the Mouth of Madness, he wrote Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy's Dead.
Okay.
He wrote Judge Dredd. He wrote a lot of cool, and he ran New Line back in the day.
You're not naming a lot of great films, by the way. Just
hey, I don't care what anyone says. Freddy's Dead is one of my favourite, and I'll fight people. But it's like, these things are, like, he basically started off as New Line, went to Sony, and then became the head of Warner. So when I managed to finally contact him, and it took me nearly a year just to get through. So it was a lot of work just to get to him. When I got to him, he was completely like, yeah, cool. And it was basically like, Warner Brothers aren't going to have a problem with anything because I run it. So just go for it. Just do what you want. Just make sure. But, obviously he has to approve everything I do. Like, I'm not going to release a product without him having final approval. So it was one of the few books I sent after doing a novelization where he basically turned around and said, perfect. No notes.
How do you get a meeting set up like that? Is it like through your publisher?
I am the publisher.
Oh, okay. So it's just like one. Okay. So
it's me contacting. Basically, to get through to anyone of importance is a minefield because unless you're lucky enough to know them or find their address somehow,
right,
it's always through agents or managers, talent appearances. But as he's no longer,
you go to San Diego Comic-Con and be like, hi.
Yeah, unfortunately I'm in England, so our Comic-Cons aren't as good.
Oh, no, your Comic-Cons are fine. You guys have a pretty big science fiction convention that happens out there every year.
We do.
Yeah.
But it's a question of like getting through to them, but also most of the time they're really busy. So, and talent, sort of the talent managers, normal managers, agents, they are the worst gatekeepers in the world.
Now,
so if you send a request to someone, the likelihood it gets through is not great, especially for something like a book.
All right, I have two questions about this since you're the publisher as well. We talked a little bit about this in email because you were like, oh, you'll never be able to get that approved because what's the name of the rights and that's still like they never released their properties and I won't mention what those are. But there was an idea I had to somebody that I was talking to who used to work for DC Comics and he was just like, well, what's your idea? And I was like, why don't we take the original scripts for both Gremlins and Beetlejuice and turn them into novels or comic books. And he's like, the problem with both of those things is Beetlejuice has been in active development hell for 30 years, and then the sequel finally came out. And the second one is that there's always a Gremlins project in development, and also you would need Joe Dante because he's part of a piece of Gremlins. So,
but Beetlejuice 1 and Gremlins both have novelizations already. They've already had the literary rights adapted.
Right, but there's original...
A lot of the things for like comic books, they're different rights.
Right, but there's an original script for like Gremlins that it was much darker before they decided to kiddie-friendly it with Spielberg. And the same thing with Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice was this demonic bat-flying demon or something like that. And I was like, well, why don't they hire somebody who's a passionate fan to turn those original scripts into novelizations? It's calling it the original... the Beetlejuice, the original version.
Yeah. I think that the main problem is that most of these studios, none of them are fans. The people that actually control the rights are not fans in the slightest. And they don't, as a blanket rule, they don't license out anything unless it's got millions of dollars attached to it. When you try and get these people, unless there's a huge return, they're not going to bother. Now, bear in mind, most of these companies... they have warehouses where all the old contracts are kept. Most of them aren't digitized. So in order for them to check a contract to see who has to have the rights, they have to book time to go into a warehouse to find the contract, to actually dig out what it was and be able to find out if they got the rights. I mean, the amount of times I've contacted a company and they go, yeah, we haven't got time to search for those rights and it'll cost us too much money, so we're not bothered.
You should be like, give me the key. You should be like, hi, I will fly out there. Give me the key. I will spend a day in your archives finding it. You don't need to hire anybody. Just have a security guard watch me to make sure I don't steal anything. And we'll be fine. I'll sign it whatever waivers you want. In fact, I'll have my lawyer already draft. I'm assuming because you're a publisher, you have a lawyer. And I'll have my lawyer draft up something that's a non-disclosure agreement. So anything I happen to see, like the Ark of the Covenant or whatever, you know what I mean? Like the lost copy of Batgirl or whatever, you know what I mean? Which is very funny I bring that up, considering that Comic-Con this past weekend, they had a huge panel for Acme versus Wile E. Coyote, the movie everyone thought they would never see, and we're finally getting it next year from Ketchup.
They must have sold it to another company for a lot.
They did. Ketchup Releasing, who put out the Looney Tunes movie, the one that came out with Daffy Duck and Porky Pig this year, the day the Earth blew up. The same company got the rights for Wile E. Coyote versus Acme, and they had a huge panel at Comic-Con where a actor playing an Acme lawyer tried to cease and desist the panel on Warner Brothers and Acme's part. It's all it's a show. You know what I mean? It's not real.
They just don't care about books mostly.
No,
like,
right.
Books to them, it was like novelizations were just a marketing tool. Now everything is digital. They don't care about physical marketing.
There's not just one Sutter Kane novel, though, in The Mouth of Madness. There's multiple.
No.
I think there's like 6 shown, and I've gone on eBay or Etsy and seen people trying to sell them. What are they selling? Is it like...
They're just selling replicas. There's no text in there. There's no written books. It's just
okay.
The books with the replica covers from the film.
I guess
because somebody managed to get scans of it from K&B Effects.
Okay, I guess they're not getting sued by Warner Brothers, so I guess they're getting away with it, as far as I know.
Warner Brothers, thing is, it's not worth their time. If they cared, they'd do a cease and desist.
Right.
I mean, if they were trying to sell if somebody wrote it, then that would be different. They would actually say that's complete IP fraud. But if it's just a cover of a prop replica, it comes under the whole prop thing. You can sell a replica of something, it's no problem. So they're selling them as props, which is the little legal loophole. But it's like, I mean, even those ones, like, I can get the rights, I did get the rights, for In the Mouth of Madness. But the thing is that all the other books are derivative rights of the IP. So Mike DeLuca doesn't own the derivative rights of those titles. He only owns what's in the screenplay. And even though Warner Brothers were fine with this coming out, I said I would write all 5 others. That's why I wrote the bit of the feeding at the end of the one, just as a kind of a proof. But it's a whole thing like, they just won't allow it. It's a whole right, it's such a specific right that is a grey area. It's not worth their time to even entertain. Whereas I'm hoping, like, with what I'm doing with novelizations, like, I've seen a lot of other companies, like, over the years, try 1 or 2 novelizations, and they always peter out, or they end up doing, like, and I'm not speaking down on anyone, but they end up doing bargain basement films. Like, they end up doing the films that the rights are easy to get because they're not particularly big films or known films, and they're very, very, very cult, to the point where the audience won't be that big. So what they're doing won't do anything to, say, further novelizations. So what I'm trying to do, and the whole ethos of Echo One Publications, my company, is to try and push the novelizations that, like myself as a fan, have always wanted, and have spoken to others, and I know a lot of other people want them, and try and get the titles that are wanted and needed are actually good films. And again, not speaking down on any other company, but I just feel like no one else is doing enough to push novelizations as they should be, to try and make the studios realize that there is a market, that there are fans, that there are people that really would benefit from making these again. I mean, if Disney won't do it for the big titles, there's no reason why they wouldn't do it for the smaller titles.
And listen, what I said about Hocus Pocus, they have to be making money on that, because every Halloween at Barnes & Noble, that Hocus Pocus book is right there with the other Halloween books, and that's obviously owned by the Disney Penguin Random House, whatever it is. You know what I mean? And it's definitely better. Trust me, believe me. I bought it. The novelization's fantastic. The sequel written in there is 1,000 times better than the Disney Plus movie, because, God, that Disney Plus movie...
That
was
that
terrible.
Sucked,
that sucked, big time. We can't swear, but yes, it sucked effing balls.
But it's amazing that, like, novelizations are, I think, amazing things for fans. Like, I grew up on them more than the films themselves, because I grew up in France, and I didn't speak French. So this is in the 80s, so there wasn't, like, an easy access to English-speaking films. It was all dubbed. There wasn't, like, English films you could go see that weren't dubbed. So I didn't understand it. So the only thing I can do is, because obviously I was a kid, was get novelizations in, because they were really cheap, and they were in English, and I could import them quite easily. And I grew to love the films by the books first. So throughout the, I'd say, early 90s, I was buying novelizations intentionally before I saw the film.
Oh, nice.
But then there was such a massive gap in the ones that I felt needed to be done. Like, that just begged to be done. You go, why hasn't this been done? Like, for instance, if The Goonies had a novelization, which it did, why didn't The Gate? It's a horror film, but it's the same kind of audience that you're going for.
Right.
Like, same with The Monster Squad. Like, things like that. Like, why haven't these got anything? Like, the more family-friendly ones. And then even going back up, like, if Stephen King's such a big seller, then why wasn't it In the Mouth of Madness made, seeing as it's basically an ode to Stephen King?
Yeah, and they recently just, it kind of got out of its schedule a little bit, but in 2020 or 21, 2020, the Ghostbusters, for the first time, had a re-release of their novelization for the first time in print in decades, and fans gobbled it up because it was supposed to be a tie-in release to Afterlife. Unfortunately, Afterlife was delayed due to the COVID pandemic till December late 21, which is totally fine, or November, whenever it came out. But that novel, I know people were saying that they gobbled it up, and Amazon was saying that, oh God, this is hot, this thing is selling like crazy. And I bought one immediately because the original novel was out of print, and you were going to spend $200 on a novelization of a movie, which was, by the way, a lot of people don't realize this. Buying the Ghostbuster novelization, it is the Bible that they used for the real Ghostbusters cartoon series. A lot of things that they used for the character's background came from Richard's novelization of the movie, which is I think fantastic, and some people don't realize. But that's a whole other thing. With The Gate, you're absolutely right. When I heard you had done that as well, I was like, God, that's another one I never realized didn't have one before.
Yeah, I mean, if I had my way, I would be doing all of the Nightmare on Elm Streets again. Except for, there was a couple of later ones. There was like a New Nightmare and Freddy vs. Jason that had good ones, but the rest of them are fucking terrible. Oh, can't swear, sorry.
That's okay. But yeah, Jason X had one. Freddy vs. Jason had one. I'll find it. Don't worry. It's like the 21-minute mark.
Wes Craven's New Nightmare had one. But the first 4 or 5 had them, but they were really short. They were like 60 pages long each, done in a compendium, and they were absolutely terrible. And it broke my heart because it's like my favourite franchise. And now there's like, I have tried my best, and there's no way on earth they're releasing the rights to make them.
That's too bad. The one thing I saw in the beginning of your note for The Gate was, let me pull it up right now, and then you'll have to, by the way, read an excerpt from both of these if you wouldn't mind. Let's see. It says, okay, so there's the foreword, but then there's the adaptation note. The novelization is based solely on the original screenplay and not the completed film. No elements, scenes, dialogues, or visuals from the film have been used. So that's really important that you can't just watch the movie and copy down everything that happens in the film.
You can't, and none of these, no film that I've done apart, I mean, there's 2 I've got coming up that I could do it because the rights holder owns the actual film itself. But virtually 99% of the time, the rights I'm getting are the literary rights, and the literary rights to the screenplay. And they're very specific rights. They are, so I can only use what's in the script. If the filmmaker decided to add a scene that's absolutely amazing, I can't add it. If I was doing a Nightmare on Elm Street 1 and I was only restricted to the screenplay, the original screenplay, there would be lots about Freddy Krueger I couldn't add because Wes Craven added them in during filming. And they weren't in the script. And, like, even down to, like, his jumper being red and green. Like, I wouldn't be able to put that in because that was a later edition. So all of the adaptations, unless I happen to be allowed to use the film, which most of the time I don't, I can only use what's on the page. So I get asked a lot of the time, oh, so you watch the film? And, you basically go through the film and make sure you get everything. No, I make sure I don't watch the film again. Because if I watch film, I can't legally use anything. I don't want to subconsciously add in something that wasn't in the screenplay. So I kind of like have what I remember of the film, which, to be fair, most of these films I've seen very recently anyway, because I watched them a lot. But I won't watch them again for this, and I'll have to just go by what's written, which is kind of freeing in a way, because it's like the film is an adaptation of the script. The book is an adaptation of the script, so they're both basically adaptations. So, but they're just like, so you can pick a different tone, you can pick a different pace, you can have different scenes, you can make it more violent, less violent, you can make it more sweary, less sweary, depending on what the rights holder wants. And with, say, The Gate, for instance, the writer wanted to use his original draft, not the one that was used afterwards where they made it more family-friendly and less dark. And he wanted it to be dark again. He was like, it wasn't what I wanted. It isn't what I wrote. Here is what I wrote. And he gave me 2 different drafts, both like completely different to each other, but both very, very dark and a lot more violent. So the adaptation is a mixture of the first 2 drafts, but don't have anything from the actual film itself. And if you know the film, The Gate, and then you read the book, you will see the vast differences in there. And they're not necessarily ones I've made. They're ones that were in the original screenplay that just so happens no one has read, because most of these films, the scripts aren't out there for people to read. So I'm hoping that things like that will be a really good present for fans.
That's a good point. There's, I think in this day and age, there's not a huge uptick of fans hunting down screenplays as much as there used to be. I remember one time I went to a mall, and a guy at a kiosk, like in the middle of the mall, he had boxes and boxes of screenplays. That was all he was selling, was old screenplays. I was fascinated. And I was a film fan, but not like the deep-cut knowledge film fan that I am today. And the only film script I bought was Raiders of the Lost Ark. But I had no idea about, like, Kevin Smith's Superman and things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which he's always famously written, F. Tim Burton on or something like that. If he ever has you sign it. And those scripts are out there. Now, they've been doctored and rewritten, and I remember that once upon a time somebody sent me in a PDF their original screenplay for the Canon films, or not Canon and Cameron, but the Spider-Man movie from the 80s that never ended up happening.
Oh, yeah.
Because that guy came on my radio show, the Hammer Horror Podcast, a couple times. He was a Hammer enthusiast. He had been on commentaries and bonus features for Hammer films, and I found out that he was the screenwriter for the Canon film Spider-Man movie. And I was like, you wrote the Canon film Spider-Man movie? He goes, oh, yeah, a long time ago. Do you want a copy? I'll send it to you. And he sent it to me, and then he passed away. I was like, are you serious? Oh. I was shocked.
Well, it's like, you say that Hammer Horror, like, they're another company that I would love to do novelizations for, but back in the day, they did them all.
Yeah, they do. Like, they have them now too, these days. Like, I have Captain Kronos, Vampire Hunter.
Yeah, like, they were great for novelizations. I mean, most of their books were based on already existing books, so that most of the films were based on existing books, which is great. But then the ones they didn't do, they did them all. So I was speaking to one of my contacts, and he was saying, "Oh yeah, I can get if you want any Hammer stuff, we can look into that." And I was like, There's no Hammer films that don't have a novelization.
Yeah. By the way, the script was written by David Cope, Koepe.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And there's also Joseph Zito is credited as well, because that's the name they say in the famous trailer. You know what I mean? Where it says, an experiment turns a kid into, he goes, coming from Canon Films, Spider-Man, the movie. And you're like, if I saw that as a child, I would have been going nuts. But alas, we didn't get a Spider-Man movie until 2002. But I digress. What do you have coming up that you're allowed to mention?
Well, I can give you a couple of exclusives if you'd like.
Sure. By the time this airs, which will probably be either... So we're recording this on the 27th. This will probably air either the 3rd or the 10th of August.
That's fine. I'm not going to announce these before then, I don't think.
Okay, sure.
Basically, I mentioned the Monster Squad. Well, the Monster Squad's coming. House. The 1986 House, which is the one.
With House 2? No?
Unfortunately not. No, just House 1. Just House 1. Thing is, for any of these, I'm hoping to get the sequels. Like, of any of them. Like, I did Witchboard, and I'm hoping to get Witchboard 2, because I love Witchboard 2. But, there's some I want to get. But, obviously, sometimes different people own different rights. So, if you... Like, the original story that you get is normally easier to get the rights to than any sequel, because sequels have a lot more different companies coming in and trading rights, buying up things, and it's normally difficult to get. But, let's see, what else have I got coming? I'm going to actually... Because I am so, dumb, I actually have to look at a list of what I've got coming, because I can never remember. I tell you, a weird one that most people haven't seen, and I adore the film. It's actually a newer one. Well, I say newer, about 20 years old. Fido, if you've ever seen that. The zombie film with Billy Connolly and Carrie-Anne Moss.
Yep.
I absolutely love that one. Nightwish. It's wow.
A bit of a deep cut one. Yeah, I know that one. Yep.
Yeah, The Dark Side of the Moon, which where they find the devil is on the moon and the Bermuda Triangle is on the moon, and it sucks up everything from the Bermuda Triangle and puts it on the moon.
I've not heard of that one, but go on, yeah.
It's Michael Parry. It's absolutely beautiful. And the other one, which is Dracula 2000.
Oh wow, that's fantastic. I've had the director of that on the show.
Yes, I mean, he's basically, like, him and the writer are fantastic, and the script is brilliant. Like, the script has so much not in the film, and I mean, they basically had to cut out so many things in the films because they literally couldn't make them. But, like, the opening of the film is absolutely amazing, but just so happens they couldn't get it for the budget, so I get to make it, which is great. And, and of course, the one I'm writing at the moment, which is one of my white whales that I have been looking for, is Waxwork.
Oh, excellent! I love Waxwork. I have that Vestron Blu-ray set. Plus, I got the vinyl soundtrack when it came out on Record Store Day a couple of years ago.
I mean, that's a funny one because Anthony Hickox, because he directed the film, the script itself was quite short. I think the script is like 60 pages. It's very, very short.
Excellent.
And it's not good for me.
Oh.
So I have the script to work with, not the film.
Gotcha.
So I mean, everything is more or less in there, but it's a difficult one, but it is a hell of a lot of fun to write. So I'm absolutely adoring writing it. And like the other ones that I've got, these are ones coming up that are out in October. Well, obviously, In the Mouth of Madness is on the 1st of October. The Gate is on the 8th. The Descent is in partnership with Titan Books.
Okay.
Is on the 10th of October. We've got an English zombie film called Doghouse, which is basically like Shaun of the Dead but with zombies, other zombies. The 22nd, we've got Dee Snider's Strangeland, which is, I don't know if you've ever seen it. That's a film that seems to have dropped by the wayside. Don't know why. The 29th, we've got Night of the Comet.
Okay.
And the 30th of October, we've got Witchboard. The 14th of November, we got Tremors, or it's called Beneath Perfection because Universal won't let us use the word Tremors because they are not very nice. And December the 17th, I've got a Christmas one. There's a French film that Home Alone basically ripped off a lot of things from called 3615 Code Santa Claus. In America, I think it's called Deadly Games. So that's a little horror Christmas one. And all the other ones I mentioned before will be out in the first quarter of 2026, because obviously there's about 12 of them, and I have to write them.
Gotcha. Well, why don't you plug the website where people can find all these great novelizations and adaptations?
Yeah, basically just echohorror.com. That's echohorror.com. Basically, I don't sell on my website, but there is links on the website under every book for discount purchases, which I recommend everyone does. And don't buy on Amazon, and it's not because it gets any more money, because it doesn't.
Or you can order from your local bookstore.
Or you can order from your bookstore, but the thing is, this is the weird one, is that when you put up a book to sell, you have to price it for a wholesale discount, so bookstores can buy them in at a discount rate. But you've still got to make some money from the discount to cover the costs of printing. So it means that when you buy them in a store, you're buying them for a lot more than they would cost normally. The discount rate I've got on there is I basically link to the printer. So you can buy the book at a hugely reduced cost. So, for instance, the Maniac Cop trilogy I've got out, which is a collector's edition hardcover of all 3 books, to buy it in a bookstore or online, it will cost probably about sort of $35, $36. Whereas if you buy the discounted rate, you'll probably get it for $10 less.
Okay, gotcha.
So I'm just saying, so this doesn't get me more money. It gets me the same amount of money, but I prefer people to use that because they can get them for cheaper, because I hate the fact that books are so expensive.
I understand. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on to talk about these. I've been super fascinated. We'll definitely have to have you on for more books in the future.
No problem. Well, thank you so much for having me.